in summary, with vendor shipments, signed date and the carton count when it arrives in the store is on the packing slip. Line item checked in, I'm going to add the quantities up. I'm going to verify that those quantities match what's newly received. And then that the manager entering it in the system writes entered by, signs and date that the day that they entered it in the system. One other thing on the checks to make sure that it was done within 48 hours. This was received in the store on 2/9, entered on 2/11. Quantities match. Print before received, so we have the new received quantities. It's received and printed again. All this is attached. This is a perfect example of how a vendor shipment is executed properly. Now I'm just going to go through a couple more vendor shipments. I'll go through it a little bit quicker just to see if there's anything that stands out. And lo and behold, look at what we have here. We do have something here. You might think this is staged, and you're probably right. This is a shipment that came in. We signed date in the carton count that it came in on the 12th. It is line item checked in. I've already counted this up. There's 15 pieces. When I turn this over, it was entered on the 16th. I have 15 pieces showing in the new received column, so all that's good. However, if you heard what I said, it was received in the store on the 12th. Was not entered in until the 16th. Signed and dated by the manager entering it in the system. All that's good, but it needs to be entered within 48 hours. We require shipments to be entered in on a timely basis. If for some reason you went into your back office system and you attempted to enter this in the system within that 48 hours and that purchase order number was not showing up in the system, then the store should note that on this packing slip by writing not in system and the date that they tried to enter it in. That way I would know why it's a late shipment. The second printout is attached after they hit receive. So other than it being a late shipment, everything else was correct. The next part of the receiving paperwork I'm looking at are our warehouse transfers. They could be TNDC transfers as well, but it's signified as a transfer by the green and white packing slip. With warehouse transfers, TNDC transfers, TNDC shipments, Carlton card shipments like we're going to go over next, these are really easy to both receive in the system and audit. I mean, there's no extra paperwork like you just saw with the vendor receiving, no receiver purchase order printouts required. You do not have to line item check in this merchandise. Basically, it's all about accountability. We sign, date, and carton count the shipment on the packing slip when it came through the doors or arrived in the store, and then we write entered by and sign the date when we enter it in the system. With the warehouse transfers, only one extra step we take is that we want to make sure that each transfer number is circled and initialed by the manager entering it in the system. The reason why that's in place and the reason why that's a policy, it's not to make your life any more harder, but it's basically because you will see sometimes that you could have, here's a good example, multiple transfer numbers in on one packing slip. As you notice, both of these packing slips have two different transfer numbers on them. What could be basically human nature is our team member pulls this up into the system, they take that top transfer number, they go into the system, they enter it in, they receive it in, and then they think they're done. When lo and behold, we have another one on here. So by making sure that we're circling and initialing each transfer number, we can make sure that we're verifying that all transfer numbers are entered on that packing slip. So that's why the question is in the audit, and that's why that policy is in place. So with the warehouse transfers, basically sign, date, and carton count when it arrived in the store. Sign, dated, entered by when they enter it in the system, that each transfer number is circled and initialed. Boom, boom, boom. Very good. I'm noticing that this store does line item check it in. I'll have a discussion with the store manager or the manager on duty before I leave. Just let them know that's an unnecessary step. I know we like to take ownership in what's coming in our store and everything, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that they don't know about. So the policy is a place that you receive it in full. This just creates extra work for them when they do that. Okay, so on this warehouse transfer number, I see that it was entered in, and the person that entered it in and the date that they did it, they circled all that. But what I don't have on this is the date that it arrived in the store. So as I've said before, sign, date, and carton count every packing slip that comes in the store. On this one, we're missing the date. So without the date, we don't have the accountability. We don't have a starting point that we can say this shipment was entered in within 48 hours. So I'll put that to the side so I can note it in the audit. and discuss it as an area of opportunity for the store to work on. And this is good. So that's warehouse transfers. The last one that we're looking at today is going to be our corporate Carlton card shipments. These are your card shipments that come in on the white packing slip. You receive it in the system through the vendor receiving function, but you're looking at, instead of a PO number, you're looking at the invoice number that's located in the LOC reference column of the vendor receiving screen. These are just like warehouse transfers. You sign, date, and carton count when it arrived at the store. Entered by, sign, and date when you enter it in the system. All should be done within 48 hours. So that one's fine. Here's a big Easter card shipment that came in. It's signed, dated, carton count when it arrived in the store, but they did not write down when they entered it in the system. So from an LP perspective, an auditor perspective, a DM perspective, we need to know that this was entered in the system. All right, so we can make sure our on-hand levels are accurate, we pay the vendors, etc. So on this one, we just don't have the date signature that it was entered in the system. What you need to do is, when you have these things, is you have to verify, was it entered in the system or not. So you would go back into the back office system, you would look into their inventory screen, go to vendor receiving, and you would look for this invoice number located in the LOC REF column. If it's not listed, then chances are it has been received in the system. To verify that, you could also type in, you could do a sort order under the inventory browse function, sort order by UPC, and you can look up that UPC and see if your on-hand levels are accurate in the store. So I'll put this one to the side. It's missing a date. Like I said, I already did look in the system for this one, and it was received in. They just didn't write down the date that they entered it in the system. Next one. Okay, it's signed, dated, and carton counted when it arrived in the store. It arrived in the store on February 2nd. Entered by and dated here. The problem with this is that it was dated for January 2nd, 2010. I don't think we could enter in the system something we haven't received yet. So chances are that was just a minor mistake where we wrote down the wrong date that we entered in the system. Probably should have been 2/2. Another Carlton shipment. We received in 4 boxes of this on January 29th. Again, what we're missing is the date that we entered it in the system. The manager who entered it in should have wrote entered by, signed, and dated it. We are missing that, so we don't know exactly whether or not it was entered in. I have already confirmed by looking in the system that it's not listed. Checked the on-hand quantities, they are accurate. It was received in the store. It was received in the system. We just didn't note it on this packing slip. So for those discrepancies that I found, both in the corporate invoices, your warehouse, this one warehouse transfer, and this vendor drop shipment, I would go to my receiving category, and I would note the exceptions in the applicable question. As in any audit we do, we're going to keep all this stuff to the side, and we're going to go over it with the store staff, with the manager on duty, and identify what our areas of opportunity are, why there are areas of opportunity, why we're even looking at it, and how it's going to create shrink or could cause loss to the store. So hopefully that going forward, we don't continue to make the same types of mistakes.